The state of America, unfortunately, is abject failure and chaos, both abroad and here at home. And unfortunately, as I understand it, the Capitol has a fence around it again. The city's locked down. This is America's capital, and the citizens that pay the bills, the citizens that are the bosses of the president and members of Congress, they're not invited.
My guest today is Congressman Scott Perry, chairman of the House Freedom Caucus and a representative for Pennsylvania's 10th Congressional District. Congressman, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to be with you.
It is a pleasure to have you here. So, President Biden has been in office for slightly over a year now, and we are quickly approaching his State of the Union address, which will be coming up next month, that will address how America is doing. So, Congressman, what is the state of America?
The state of America, unfortunately, is abject failure and chaos, both abroad and here at home. And unfortunately, as I understand it, the Capitol has a fence around it again. The city's locked down. This is America's capital, and the citizens that pay the bills, the citizens that are the bosses of the president and members of Congress, they're not invited. And they're literally not invited to the State of the Union. So people that are living under the tyranny of an open border where their loved one was killed by somebody here illegally, either in drunk driving or other criminal activity, not invited to come in and see their president and see him face to face, ignore the problem of the border. Gold Star mothers that lost their loved ones in war as we walked out of Afghanistan, giving a terrorist organization $85 billion in American military treasure, and a humiliating defeat. Those who have lost their loved ones who say, what was my sacrifice? What was our sacrifice for? Aren't able to face their president. Those who are paying exorbitant prices at gas stations just to live their daily lives, that go to stores, can't afford to buy what's on the shelf, but even can't find stuff on the shelf based on the terrible policy decisions of this administration and President Biden, aren't invited to the Capitol to see the president and hear the State of the Union. It's just an unprecedented and unfortunately a very dark time in America, and we seek to change things, obviously, dramatically.
Moving on to the news of the day, obviously all eyes are on Ukraine,
right,
as President Vladimir Putin has invaded the country. What do you think of President Biden's handling of this crisis over in Ukraine right now?
So talking about how we got here is as important as talking about what we do next. How we got here can be laid at the feet of President Biden, in my opinion, and it is in two forms. First of all, the energy policy. President Biden, this administration, and many on the left, while they have dreams of grandeur in this Green New Deal, either refuse to understand or are incapable of understanding not the world as they wish they see or could be, but the world as it is. Russia gets 40-50% of its economic power from petroleum, right? From fossil fuels. They do that by selling them, by providing them to other parts of the world. The only way that a large land country like Russia, with the size of an economy the size of Italy, can have this invasion, set up shop in Ukraine, is because they are affording it because of the high prices based on United States energy policy. We used to be sending out about 3 million more barrels a day under the Trump administration than we are now. You're seeing the price at the pump. We're seeing Vladimir Putin invade Ukraine. That comes as a function of that policy. That's the number one. Number two, the rhetoric. Weak, feckless, and inconsistent, has told Vladimir Putin that the guy in the White House is either incompetent or just unable to deal with the problem at hand, and he's got a green light to go in and nothing's going to be done. And realistically, at this point, not much, certainly nothing's been done to stop him.
Sure.
And it doesn't look like, and it doesn't sound like we're willing to do anything to stop him.
Right. So what should be done? It sounds like action must be taken.
Action must be taken. So immediately reverse the United States, the Biden energy policy. Open up the federal lands, open up the Keystone Pipeline, open up ANWR, open up continental shelf drilling, and say that we are going to start supplying the world's oil and natural gas as we can and should. And also, we're going to discontinue buying Russian. Understand this. We're buying Russian oil and gas right now. Today, we're going to buy, at the same time that Russia's invading Ukraine. We're paying Russia to invade Ukraine. It's ridiculous. That's number one. Number two, all the financial requirements, SWIFT. What are we waiting for? Are we waiting for them to invade Poland or Latvia? What are we waiting for? They should not be able to finance any of this stuff. There needs to be very difficult and profound consequences to an unprovoked attack on a peaceful neighbor.
Right. Moving from abroad to at home, of course, America is also suffering from economic problems and COVID-19 problems. How has America's leadership affected that recovery? How has President Joe Biden affected our recovery?
All it's done is shutter it and slow it down. You see the problems at your store shelves, whether it's the cost or just the availability of goods. Now we potentially have one of these trucker or more of these trucker convoys because of these mandates that you get the injection. This is America. We all want to be safe. We all want to take care of the person in our family or our neighbors, but it's not the federal government's job to mandate that you get some medical care that you may or may not need, that you have questions about. And America is being slowed down. People are losing their jobs. They're losing their jobs in the healthcare arena after we relied upon those people to be there to put themselves on the front lines, not knowing what we had, and to potentially have themselves infected and imperil their own lives. And now we're treating them like literally second-class citizens, saying, unless you do what the federal government says, you, the person who should know most, you're in the healthcare arena, you lose your job. That's having a cascading effect on this economy that ripples from the top to the bottom.
Sure. Now, we've discussed foreign policy, domestic policy. In what area has the president performed the worst?
Well, it is, it is difficult to make that assessment. I mean, Afghanistan, now Ukraine, arguably the president's poor performance not only has such profound negative effects for the United States of America, our economy, the psyche of the American people, pride in America, but for the rest of the world. So while he has decimated the United States economy with these horrific policies, that's just the United States. Now, it does have spin-off effects to the rest of the world, but these other foreign policy blunders just have profound effects that might affect the rest of the world for the rest of our lifetime. And so I think I'm going to have to fall in on the side of abject failure on the foreign policy front as the winner for Biden's failures.
Interesting. As we mentioned at the top, you are chairman of the House Freedom Caucus. How is the House Freedom Caucus helping to counter the president's woke agenda? So
what the House Freedom Caucus is, if people don't know, we're people that actually believe in what we say when we run for office. So when you see the commercials and you say, oh, I think I might vote for that person, and then later on you say, well, I voted for these people, why isn't any of this happening? Because a lot of people say one thing and do another. We're the people that say one thing and do the one thing. When we don't make it complicated, right? We said we're going to do this. When we go to Washington, this is what we do. We are the conscience of the conference. So what we do is we prove that even in difficult districts, you can say what you're going to do if you're elected and people rely on you. It's your duty. It's not only what you hope to do. It's your duty to stand by your word and do those things. And we prove that you can do that and still get reelected. And so we kind of lead the conference in saying, be courageous, stiffen your spine. If you said this on the campaign trail, if you're for a secure border, if you're for funding the police, if you're for a strong economy where we don't bankrupt our country, then just vote that way. And your people, even though they might disagree with you on occasion, will respect you for that. They'll respect that you treated them with respect as your boss. They're your boss, and that you were straight with them. You're not always going to be perfect. No one is, but just do what you said you're going to do, and they will reward you with sending you back to fight for them. That's our job.
Congressman, one final question for you. One might assume that the Republicans may take a majority back in the House in 2022.
Shouldn't
after
assume
the midterms.
That. Never assume that.
What role, if that was to happen, would the Freedom Caucus play in a majority?
Again,
GOP
we
House?
would be the conscience of the conference. So oftentimes, and look, we've lived this. Republicans have given the privilege and the honor of being in the majority and setting the legislating and the governing schedule, and then failed to live up to the things that we said that we were going to do when we got there. The Freedom Caucus will make sure that these things get to the floor for a vote. Now, we can't tell you how your representative's going to vote. That's up to your representative, but what we're going to seek to do is provide the opportunity for your elected official to do what he or she said they were going to do. That's what that's what the Freedom Caucus is going to do.
Excellent. That was Congressman Scott Perry, chairman of the House Freedom Caucus and a representative for Pennsylvania's 10th Congressional District. Congressman, very much appreciate your time.
Well, thank you, sir. Great opportunity, and we sure appreciate what you guys do.
Absolutely. Thank you.